The Book Visitors, Chapter 2, The Flying Book. "Charlie, something's wrong with my cup," I said. "Mine too," Charlie whispered. "My cup is vibrating all by itself." Charlie and I stared down at the tiny waves on the surface of our hot chocolate. The floating marshmallows were bouncing like little white boats on a stormy sea of brown liquid. We were afraid, as if our cups would bite us or explode. At that moment, the book I had laid on the wall began vibrating. It slowly opened by itself to the middle page, and then, ever so slowly, the open book rose into the air above my head and moved as if it were a silent little airplane circling slowly above me all by itself. The book was in the air above our heads, but hardly moving. There was no propeller or engine. It didn't make a sound. It was a strange thing to see. As you can imagine, we didn't know what to say. We were dumbfounded. Charlie and I looked at one another. "What are we going to do?" Charlie whispered. We watched the book as it circled slowly above us. "I don't know," I answered quietly. "I suppose I'll have to catch Grandpa's book before it flies away. I don't think Grandpa would believe me if I told him one of his books flew away all by itself." "I wonder what will happen if I try to catch it," I said to Charlie. "I don't know," Charlie answered, "but you better catch it before it sails away. It might never come back. It's one of Grandpa's favorites. He keeps it in his special bookcase. If it flies away, Grandpa will be angry. Grandpa always says it would be better to get in trouble for doing something than for doing nothing. I think now the time is for doing something." Charlie was right. I had no choice. Even though I was afraid, I reached up and took hold of the book. It was easy to reach. It was just above my head and barely moving. The funny thing was, when my fingers touched the book, I felt myself go weightless. Even though I was holding on to the book kept going at the same slow speed and pulled me along with it, and even circled a little higher. When it went higher, it pulled me upwards, lifting me off the brick wall as if I were nothing, like I was a balloon filled with helium. Once I had hold of the book, I was afraid to let go. When Charlie saw me rise into the air, he did the first of many brave things he did during our adventure. As I rose, he grabbed my left arm. He was trying to save me, but it didn't work. The book kept circling with me attached. I held the book and Charlie held me. The fact that Charlie and I were attached to the book didn't hinder it in the least. The book was flying slowly with Charlie and me stuck together like glue. I was holding the book and Charlie was holding me. When Charlie took hold of my arm, he became weightless too. If Charlie hadn't been brave and grabbed onto me, I might have been alone during our adventure, and that would have been scary. Like me, Charlie is glad we had our adventure together. Because of our adventure, Charlie and I are better friends now than ever. In fact, I think Charlie is my best friend. I'm sure if anyone had been walking past Grandpa's house that morning, they would have been puzzled to see an open book flying slowly through the air with two children attached. Charlie and I must have looked like we were on some sort of strange ride at the amusement park, or like we were holding on to the tail of a kite. If flying with a book had been all that happened, Charlie and I might have never written this story you're reading, but something else happened, something amazing and interesting, something worth writing about. We didn't know it, but the book was taking us somewhere special. Before I tell you where the book took us, I have to tell you about the bow window in case you don't know. If you remember, Charlie and I were told by our parents to stay out of Grandpa's kitchen because of the first two bow window adventures. The one with Jack, Charlie's brother, and the other adventure with Carter, our cousin. Our parents didn't want us near the bow window. They were afraid we would have another scary adventure. They didn't want the bow window to hear anything we said, especially when we were telling stories and using our imagination, which is what we do all the time when visiting Grandfather. They didn't want us to go on a third bow window adventure. If you've read The Bow Window or The Amazing Adventure of Carter and the Pirates, you'll understand our parents' concern. Grandpa does all his writing and thinking at his little drop-leaf table in his little kitchen next to the bow window. It's there the first two adventures began, beside that window where Grandpa uses his imagination. Because our parents didn't want us in Grandpa's kitchen, Charlie and I were outside sitting on the brick wall in front of Grandpa's house waiting for breakfast. When Grandpa made our hot chocolate, he suggested we drink it on the brick wall of the raised flower bed just in front of his little yellow house. We thought if we went outside to wait, we would be obeying our parents and be well away from the dangerous bow window. Charlie and I think Grandpa suspected what might happen. We asked him about it afterwards, but he smiled and said there were many unexplained things in this world. One can never know everything about brick walls, one's imagination, or even a simple window. Everyday things can contain a mystery. That's what Grandpa said. It didn't occur to us that the bow window could overhear our conversation when we were drinking our hot chocolate and talking about going inside of books, but it did. The bow window heard everything. We thought the window was only unsafe when people were thinking imaginative things on the inside of Grandpa's house. It never occurred to us the window might eavesdrop on outside conversations. Our parents were mistaken, badly mistaken. Although outside, Charlie and I were so close to the bow window that it heard every word when we were talking about going inside of a book. We'll know better next time. If you ever visit our grandfather, you should be prepared for most anything if you think imaginative things when you're anywhere near the bow window, inside or out. So there we were, up in the air in front of Grandpa's house, slowly flying in circles with our feet just above the white wooden fence and Grandpa's bird bath. About the third time the book circled Grandpa's bird bath, it slowly glided across the little street that doesn't go anywhere and flew us around the Jack and Jill fountain a couple of times. Then the flying book slowly came back across the street, straight towards Grandpa's house on a beeline for the bow window. Somehow, I could tell the book wasn't going to stop when it got to the window. I imagined the book would shatter glass all over Grandpa's kitchen and Charlie and I would be cut to ribbons. Even though I was afraid, I didn't want to let go of the book. I know that's a silly thing to do, but I didn't want Grandpa's book to fly away and be lost forever. Thankfully, nothing happened. The book didn't stop, and although we did fly straight into the bow window, the glass didn't break. Here's what's happened.